Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here. And today's video is going to be a recap of my weekly fragrance rotation, ending off the month of July and moving into the beginning of August. So last 3 days of July, I was reaching for some things that were more akin to my July sensibilities, things that have some degree of maybe an aquatic tone, some casual sort of vibes going on. Monday, I actually had a dentist appointment. I was sitting in the chair waiting to be seen, and there was a lot of rain, and it was really overcast, dreary, crappy looking out. And work has just been a little bit demanding of me lately. We've been cutting hours all over the place, so having to pick up the slack there because we've not been filling the positions with any more bodies. So been doing the job of like 2 or 3 people at my work lately, so ended up calling off Monday, wanting to have a moments of relief from just the demands of the job, and then also just spend a little bit of time with my family because me and my wife work opposite schedules, so we don't ever have any time together. Sadly, that day off turned into an excursion of another trip, I guess you could say. My son's medication got held up and there was a shortage in my area. Couldn't get it within a 20-mile radius of any of the pharmacies locally, so we had to take a trip up to Chicago, drive up there to see a special Walgreens that was able to get us the medication, and that was held up there for like 2 hours. So it was a little bit of a tumultuous day off, you could say, but for that event, I rocked this one here, America from Perry Ellis. Really nice, easygoing, sort of signature fragrance for the summertime for me. Something that I'm really glad to have in the collection and that I've gotten to know a little bit more over this summer 2024 and really enjoyed wearing it. It's basically like a sweet and creamy take on the Creed Aventus DNA. This one has rose and patchouli in here, so it gives it this really almost playful kind of nuance. I like to describe this as like Aventus meets Roja's mustache or the tuxedo DNA. It's got this very earthy, almost chocolatey sweet kind of patchouli going on. The pineapple in here also gets a little bit added of a kick of like an almost bubblegum style sweetness without going too far into like an Invictus sort of territory. Not the greatest performance, but it's got a really good projection during the 4 or 5 hours that you get out of it, and generally garners me compliments. So really enjoyed wearing this one on the trip up to Chicago and back. The weather ended up breaking, was no longer so cloudy and dreary, but this one is great to mitigate any type of weather. It is perfect as a signature, and I think can be worn any time during the summer. Tuesday, the rest of the week did end up getting a little bit more warm again, and the temperatures were rising, and they were peaking out towards the end of the weekend, so we were in the sort of mid-80s, and then by the time we reached Sunday, we were back up to the mid-90s. So Tuesday, this is another one I haven't been wearing as often, but is a favorite of mine for the summertime. One of the best aquatic fragrances in my collection, period. This one generally garners compliments almost every time I wear it. Didn't get me one this week. I did have one fragrance that got me a compliment, that actually got me 2 compliments from 2 separate people. That one was what I wore Friday, but this one was a welcome companion for Tuesday, mitigated the heat. And if you're not familiar with this, this is Tous 1920, the Origin Eau de Toilette, which is a modernized take on the Lotus A Pour Homme DNA, which I think is a classic and must-own DNA for the summertime. The original Lotus A does have a bit of a 90s dated feel to it because of the watery florals that it uses in here. This sort of strips that somewhat, how do I want to say, stuffy floral quality that the Lotus A has and replaces it with a really nice ambroxany shower jelly type of feel, increasing the aquatic nuances in here beyond just the floral component, and then also replaces yuzu with grapefruit, also making this a little bit more modern, a little bit more Western appealing, and really just one of the best fragrances for under the $40 price point for the summertime. Really, again, had a great time wearing this one. Very refreshing and invigorating, and kind of like a go-getter sort of casual fragrance for the summertime. Wednesday was a fragrance that I just hadn't been wearing as often, even though it's one of, if not my favorite, summertime fragrance in general. It kind of fell victim to that save it for a special occasion sentimentality, so I didn't wear it as often, but I wanted to make sure I got it in on July 31st, just because it's something that I would ideally like to wear a lot in July, but it, like I said, fell victim to that special occasion sentimentality. This is Oceania from Roja Parfums. Really beautiful kind of powdery iris with this nice soft woody base, and then an otherwise very effervescent photorealistic cold cooling shaved ice, like a lemon lime shaved ice, very tart and mouth-watering. And beautiful layers of different textures from the floral component, the woody component, the sweet elements going on in here, and just some of the best citruses in general out of any fragrance in my collection. Wednesday is my night shift, so I spent the afternoon with the kids just kind of enjoying the very indulgent scent bubble that this one provides. Not the greatest longevity, again, really high quality freshies. They tend to dissipate a bit, but it is not a slouch in the performance department either. I still got about 6 hours with this one. Did reapply it going into work, but enjoyed it during the daytime with the kids, and then by the time I got into work, it carried me through the night shift rather nicely, and still was picking up wafts of it on my shirt when I got home that evening. Stunning stuff. Usually $250 is fair market price for this at the discounters. If you wanted to check this one out, I would recommend sampling though in case this one isn't for you. But really one of my favorites, like I said, for the summertime in general, Roja Parfums Oceania. Thursday, so Thursday marked the beginning of the month of August, so it's when I like to shift gears out of the citrus aquatic style fragrances into the more citrus woody fragrances, and this one is one of the most woody summer fragrances in my entire collection. One of my favorites, certainly a signature type scent. This is Costa Azzura Parfum from Tom Ford. This is kind of like a very mature, grown-up take on the Acqua di Gio DNA. You get that marine, coastal, mineralic type feel from this one, but it goes into a much more green direction than any of the other Acqua di Gios. The cypress in here carries that green element and sensibility very forward, and it just is very rich and woody. It's almost like a creamy style, rich woody quality, something like a very nice polished finished wood mantle, something that of that nature comes to mind with this fragrance. And then, like I said, you get that very nice green coastal forest type sensation. Very mature, very luxurious, very well put together fragrance. One of my favorites for the summertime, and a welcome companion for the welcoming of the month of August. So that was my first fragrance for the month of August, Costa Azzura Parfum. And then Friday was the day where I got multiple compliments from multiple people, both from coworkers and strangers out at the destinations where I was delivering food for the restaurant I work at. This is Bergamask from Orto Parisi, and this is very much a well-deserving fragrance of compliments. It's got a very diffusive aura about it, so you're projecting quite a bit. It's very potent. You only really need 1 to 2 sprays, and I'm generally an oversprayer, but this one is very much going to be making its presence known. It's got this really nice powdery sort of clean linen laundry dryer sheet lavender in here. And that makes it very approachable and easygoing, but then there's also this very multifaceted bergamot that comes in with both the rindy elements, the juicy fruity elements, the tart citric qualities. All 3 dimensions of the fruit are going to be present in this alongside of that powdery clean linen. And then there's a little bit of an animalic quality to the musks as well that kind of is very enticing. It draws you in. There's a little bit of an element of difference or uniqueness from that animal quality that you don't get in a lot of fragrances any longer. So much so that this reminded me a little bit of the fragrance that I decided to wear on Sunday. Inspired by wearing this, I reached for that on Sunday, which we'll get into, but it's one of my vintage fragrances. But this is best performing in terms of compliments all week, Bergamask from Orto Parisi. Saturday, just wanted to take it easy. I've also been kind of hankering for the barbershop genre of fragrance. It's one of my favorite, it is my favorite genre of fragrance in the game, and so generally spring and autumn are where those types of fragrances really shine the most, but drawing out at the end of the summertime and getting a little bit tired of the freshies, the barbershop appeal has definitely been calling my name, and so this was a welcome companion for Saturday. Nice, easy, casual day, just kind of went out to the park, had some nature, the enjoyment of nature with the kids, and kind of just taking it easy and catching up on some rest. This was Azzaro Pour Homme Low. Very much a shaving foam, shaving cream style scent profile with a little bit of this tangy yuzu note coming in off the top that gives it a little bit more of a fresh citric quality, but it is something that people have to be used to, that yuzu. It does have a little bit of a twang that might not be for everybody, but really great little 4-hour pick-me-up, something that I was refreshing myself with throughout the day. Just that clean, fresh shaving foam vibe is just something that I really, really adore. And this is one of the best ones in that genre and category during the high heat months. So Azzaro Pour Homme Low, I think this might be discontinued from what I understand. So worth picking up definitely right now. You can usually find these still for under the $30 mark. And I think I'm going to be trying to get a backup bottle, if not this summer season, by next summer. I'm going to be hoping to replace this one because it's one that I do tend to overspray a bit. So that was Azzaro Pour Homme Low for Saturday. And then Sunday I had 2 fragrances. One when I left the house to go out for the day. Me and the kids first went to the park again, walked around in the forest a bit, got some relaxation in nature. It was really hot though, and we were sweating quite a bit, so we decided to veer off over to my parents' house for the remainder of the afternoon to swim. Kids didn't really care for the pool all that much, but wanted to kind of get them used to it. It was one of their first times being in a pool. And so this is the fragrance that I left the house with going to the park and then later washing it off in the pool. The 1980s vintage version of Sauvage Eau de Toilette from Dior. So this is I think a tester. There's some markings on here about no resale and came without a cap, but not entirely sure how much this and the citruses in it have turned over time, but this is very much something that reminds me a little bit of this, or rather this reminds me of this. This has a little bit more of an animalic quality than any of the modern formulations that I've gotten my nose on, a little bit more of an ambery nuance, definitely something that's kind of like a lemon bread. Maybe the oak moss is much more textured in here than it is in the modern ones. That just gives me this very comforting, almost blanket style citrus appeal. Very beautiful stuff, very potent, a lot more projecting than any of the modern versions I have of this. And the most modern one I have is the I think 2009 stripping of the oak moss. So that's the most recent one I've got my nose on. I haven't tried the newest batches of this, but this one is definitely, I'm really grateful to have in the collection. Was an awesome wearing experience, catching wafts around myself all day up until getting in the pool. And then when I did return home later that evening, again, like I said, I've been hankering for the barbershop sentimentality and something clean, fresh, and shaving foam-like. So I retired that evening after getting home with Guerlain Heritage Eau de Toilette gold cap version, the original vintage first issuance of this fragrance. Beautiful 90s sandalwood fougere. That sandalwood offers up that clean, fresh, creamy quality, that the texture you'd be wanting from a shaving foam, and then the beautifully done lavender and spices offer up the remainder of that scent profile. And this one has some of the best, if not the best, projection out of any barbershop fragrance in my collection. Granted, this is the vintage version of this fragrance. Maybe Sartorio comes close to that in terms of how beast mode it is, but such an indulgent fragrance. Just was enjoying the scent bubble that this created around me very much so during that last little bit of the weekend, and retired to bed with this one very lovingly and enjoying that sweet shaving foam, sandalwood, creamy quality that one has to offer, and just felt really very regal while wearing it. Just such a gentlemanly, classy fragrance. Very much one that harmonizes well with my personality, I think. So that was my weekly fragrance rotation. Let me know what you've been rocking in the comment section down below. If you've tried any of these and you have any recommendations based on this selection of tastes, would love to hear from you as well. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care.